This is Pinnacle Financial Partners Titans Tonight with Keith Bulluck. Visit titansbanking.com to learn about their convenient mobile banking. Pinnacle Financial Partners, member FDIC. Welcome to Titans Tonight. I am Amie Wells. Keith Bulluck is, of course, here, and Rhett Bryan is also joining us as well. Guys, there's a lot of news around Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park this week. There's a couple things going on. I don't know if anybody has been paying attention. For those of you who have maybe been out of town or are just, getting plugged in for the first time this week, the Tennessee Titans moved on from head coach Brian Callahan. The team is now being led by interim head coach Mike McCoy. Bulluck, what kind of an impact does a move like this have on a team in the short term? In the week that they are preparing for a game, major moves, whether it be with staffing, with personnel, with anything, what kind of an impact does that have on a team?
I think, honestly, it depends on what the messaging is. Because obviously I'm not in the building, and from the outside looking in, it seemed as if, Big Jeff, started a practice over last week. And, I think something after the game alluded to the fact that it was one of the worst practices last Thursday. And then, one of the leaders on offense co-signed it. So for me, it seems as if the message was getting stale before, and that the message needed to be changed. And you know what? Let me finish to answering your question. And that was Big Jeff letting his voice be heard last week. And then obviously not having the success they would have liked to have had following up a win in Arizona, trying to build off that momentum. Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi felt as if they needed to make a move with the head coaching situation. And then now you have Mike McCoy, who's, been in the building, has been a head coach before. And like I say, I will stick on what I said. It just depends on the message that Mike McCoy is bringing to the locker room, that's bringing to the team meeting, because at the end of the day, these guys, we're football players. They're going to go out and they're going to go do their job regardless. But what is driving them? Obviously a lot just happened. They lost their head coach, and I'm sure like a lot of guys liked Brian Callahan. I don't remember hearing Brian Callahan ever being a problem within the building or anything like that. It's unfortunate, but that's just how this business goes when you're not getting results. So, it brings new life. Mike McCoy being the head coach, it brings new life, a new message. And look, I think it's an even better way to go into the New England game, because now, it's a new season. It's a new season, a new message. So that's why I keep hanging on the message, because the messaging is important.
The messaging, I want to clarify just for myself more than anything else. What you're talking about is not just like the rallying pregame speech that you see like in the movies.
Right.
That's not necessarily the message, right?
No.
The message is what's guiding a team throughout the week.
Yeah, the head coach, you have to be a leader of men. You have to be able to stand in front of your team, and your team has to believe you. So whatever was happening before the Borgonzi and Brinker chose to go in another direction. So Mike McCoy's message, when he stood in front of that team for the first day, it needed to be loud and clear. His football philosophy, needed to be explained as simple or as in-depth as possible to those men in that room, because now, he's the leader. He's the leader. And the guys, as football players, we're going to listen to our leaders. We're going to listen to our leaders' message. We're going to believe what our leaders say, because they've been put in that position to lead the team. It's just like I never like to compare sports to being in the armed services or anything, but I know for a fact that if you have a captain of a brigade, those soldiers are listening to their captain for their orders. And if they can't believe and buy into what their captain is saying, or that sergeant or that general is saying, then you're going to lose your squad.
Rhett, you were at Mike McCoy's press conference. You've heard him speak to the media since. What are some of the things that you maybe could guess or infer will be part of his message?
So I'm just going back and thinking about, first of all, there's a couple things involved as to why Mike McCoy was chosen and tabbed to be the interim head coach. First of all, he's been in this building. He was brought in here March the 6th of this year. 7 months and 7 days later, he's the interim head coach. So he's familiar with the staff, with the roster, with the players, and certainly on offense, because that is his forte. The other part of it, he has been a head coach in this league before. From 2013 to 2016, head coach of the San Diego Chargers, and has worked with quarterbacks throughout the league, some of them Hall of Famers, Peyton Manning, namely. Mm-hmm. He's worked with Tim Tebow. I think the thing that stands out to me about his most recent job is one of the reasons why Trevor Lawrence is playing pretty doggone good football in Jacksonville, because he was charged with getting him on track after having an off-track beginning with Urban Meyer as his head coach when he was a rook. And just going back and thinking about his messaging, he said he was going to talk to the team on Wednesday morning about togetherness. We've got to stick together. It's the only way to do it is to stick together. So he said the togetherness part of it is the first part. Accountability moving forward is the second part of all of this. We got to go out there and play with great energy, great effort, play with the swagger, complementary football, all three phases playing together.
Well, there you go.
Sounds like a message to me.
Well, another thing that he said that I think is really interesting is that he wants players to do what they do best, especially when he's talking about the offensive side of the ball. He wants to find a way to really lean into what players do well and then find a way to really take advantage of that in the locker room, whether offense or defense. You've got to like hearing that, right?
Look, I don't need to hear that as a player. You know, you're supposed to go out there and do what you do well anyway. I don't think as a player, I don't need reassurance. I just think maybe at this stage that they're in at 1-5 with the team in a rebuilding phase, they may need to hear that reassurance from the coach to let them know that it's okay to go play your game. But it's not stopping Big Jeff. It's not stopping, the guys that are. It's not stopping Big Jeff.
Let's reframe the question, and let's take off your linebacker hat for a minute, and let's put on your quarterback hat.
Sure.
If you hear the head coach saying that, if you're Cam Ward, does that get you a little excited? I mean, Cam Ward is dialed in as it is, but I think there's a part of him that wants to be able to do some things offensively to showcase his talents and put, him in the best place to succeed, or the best opportunity to succeed.
Yeah, no, for sure. And if I'm Cam Ward, I would have believed that Brian Callahan was trying to do that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more issues on the offensive side of the ball than just, letting Cam do his thing. And I honestly, truly believe Brian Callahan came out starting this season wanting to do those things. But to be frank, man, when you have in 6 games, you have 25 sacks as a rookie, it's hard to get that confidence. So with your question, yes, if I'm Cam, it does, because I have a new signal, not necessarily a new signal caller, but I have a new coach. I have a new message. So now it's for me, because we know Cam shows up for practice, shows up for work. He's going to put his head down and do what he needs to do. Through 6 games in a preseason, we know that about Cam Ward. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how he comes out of the box starting the game this week. And look, we know the kid doesn't have any quit. You go back 2 weeks ago, Arizona game, he was still fighting. He threw a pass down. You saw his energy was there. So I just would love to see them get some continuity, like string some offensive plays in a row. I don't even care if, you have to kick a field goal on the first drive, but let's get three first downs, a couple first downs to get some, confidence. Even if you punt, okay, cool. What do we have to do to come back? If you get 3, let's do some things that they haven't been doing. And I think if they go down and score points better 6 on that opening drive, the first time they get the ball, I think you'll see a lot different energy with that offense.
Yeah, and it's something that we've been talking about all season is if they can get themselves into third and manageable, those kinds of things become more attainable. And you know better than anybody, you get the offense 3rd and 7+, you can pin your ears back and go.
Yeah, I mean, and that's exactly the game plan. Last week, before the Raiders played the Titans, they barely zero blitzed, but they knew if we can get them 3rd and long, make the ball come out quick, and that's what they were doing. You know, the Raiders and the Titans, I think, on paper, they were identical teams, you know what I'm saying? But I just feel like the Titans got put behind the 8 ball just a couple more times than the Raiders did.
Yeah, and then here comes Max Crosby.
Right. and that's the thing. Like, so for those, like Max Crosby is the Las Vegas Raiders Jeffery Simmons.
Bingo.
He is the Jeffery Simmons
There it is.
of the and he talks the talk and he walks the walk. I love him as a player, and you give him too many opportunities. And to be fair to J.C. Latham, he's coming off of a hip injury. And I was thinking, like, it's hard to be yourself when you're hurt. And I know he's going to go out there and do what he needs to do for the team, but that's a tough matchup coming off of IR and going up against Max Crosby.
Doubling off of that, too, think about this, that those offensive line guys, I mean, they hang out all the time. They eat meals together and all this. Oli Udoh had been holding down that spot. All of a sudden, here comes J.C. Latham back in after hadn't seen him since the first half of the Denver game.
Yep.
So there's the continuity. You've got to recalibrate all of that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of what you're alluding to there is what happened in Vegas.
Yeah, and I think, for fans, I'm actually going to be at the game this week. So I'll definitely be looking to see improvement because as football players, you don't go out there to mess up because you're going to get fired. You're going to lose your job, So he's a first-rounder. He's played enough football. I'm not going to say a lot. He's played enough football, enough to want to go out there and have a good showing for this upcoming game.
Does a week like this week impact young players? Because it's the nature of the business, the reality call that this is the NFL and performance is really what matters here.
Yeah, that's a great question because it's usually not the head coach. It's usually a player that you don't expect to get cut or whatever, and you're talking next to him on Wednesday, then you come in on Thursday, and you're like, damn, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it can be two ways. It could be one way, a young guy didn't think he was getting his opportunity, and then, coach the new head coach, Coach McCoy, maybe saw something in him, and he's like, all right, kid, you're going to get your shot now. You know what I mean? Are you ready? And or it's someone that, doesn't really pay attention because they're on the scout team or, you know what I mean? But I think that a situation like this can be a positive and should be a positive for all players because if you didn't feel you were getting the opportunities that you deserve or that you earned or however it went, you're getting a new opportunity now and a clean slate with a new head coach in the beginning of the season.
It feels like an opportunity for leaders, not only coaching staff, but also leaders within the locker room to take those rookie players, those first, second-year players who make up the majority of the Titans roster right now and say, look, guys, this is what happens. This is the reality of this league. You're not in college anymore on scholarship. This is your job. This is your livelihood, and this is what can happen.
Yeah, I think, after you make the team as a rookie, I think that sets in. You know that by then. And then, you've seen enough guys within the first 7 weeks of the season that have been shuffled around that, like, if you don't get it by now, and to be fair to what you're saying, Amy, like, there are those guys in that locker room right now that some veterans are trying to, put their arm around. And, the thing that goes overlooked is for rookies and first-year guys, the football part is one thing, but then there's the life aspect. I remember being an older guy in that locker room and then, having a guy that we're depending on having off the field issues, not issues that get him in trouble, but like had a new kid and he was with his
Life stuff.
Yeah, he was with
Yeah.
his girlfriend for 4 years. They just broke up. Now, those type things, or dealing with family, those type things really factor in and can affect how a player approaches their job and how they perform on the field.
Yep.
Especially young players.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see how all of this unfolds and the dynamics of the team change and evolve as the season goes on. We are going to take a quick break, but when we return, there will be more Titans talk right here on Pinnacle Financial Partners Titans Tonight. Welcome back to Pinnacle Financial Partners Titans Tonight. The gang is all here, and there's a lot to discuss. Guys, I want to spend some time talking about some top performers because there are some guys on this team, regardless of everything, who are playing very good football right now, and that has to start with Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard continues to be a great player for this team. 92 carries so far this season for 362 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. He has accounted for 73.7% of the Titans' rushing yards. And, of course, a lot of that is because Tajay Spears had an injury that he has just returned from. That is the second highest percentage in the National Football League. A huge amount of the offense has been on the shoulders of Tony Pollard. Rhett, I know that this is something that we have talked about and how being able to spell Tony Pollard is going to be important because you can't do this all season. But, man, what an asset to this Titans offense.
I know we're going to go through some superlative lists here of guys who have played exemplary football, and yeah, he's one of the first ones you think of. I'm glad that Tajay Spears is back and that Julius Chestnut is there to be able to spell him as it becomes necessary. But yeah, he has been, and the thing about him, bless his heart, at 1-5, he's earned every doggone yard he can get his hands on. I mean, the contact after the yards after contact are astronomical, and the thing about him is, he came in here a seasoned veteran and pro, and he has carried himself that way the whole time he's been here. I'm sure Tajay Spears has learned some things from Tony Pollard. Why wouldn't you be able to? So, but yeah, 73% of the, wow. I didn't even realize that. I haven't looked at that number. That's impressive.
Yeah, it caught my eye because that is a huge percentage. Being the second highest in the whole NFL is also just striking. Rhett, is there anybody else on the Titans offense that you feel deserves to be to receive a shout out or a highlight based on their performance?
Left guard Peter Skoronski is where I would go next.
Yep.
The guy game over game seems to just get better, and as high a pick as he was a couple of years ago, you're like, well, hopefully this pans out. And well, why isn't he a tackle? And why are you moving him inside? I think you're seeing right now why you moved him inside, and he is playing his best ball and living his best life as the starting left guard of the Titans. But if we're talking offense, yeah, those are the two names I would mention first.
Bully, when you see standouts on an offense that's struggling to put everything together, how do you keep the standout guys motivated?
That's a great question. It's a great question. It's a tough question.
Well, because you've been a guy who's a standout performer, who's playing good football, and yet the group as a whole, the team as a whole, is not getting the response.
I understand what you're
How
asking.
did you stay motivated through that time?
Well, that's a really good question because I actually like the space Jeffery Simmons is in right now because if he's going to finish his career here, he has to embrace the dark before he can go back into the light.
That was very philosophical.
I mean, it's the truth because it's the darkest hours right now. He just had a coach just get fired in the middle of the season. I've never been through that, but I've been 1-5. You know what I'm saying? And it was dark. So he has to be that guy that he has been. You got to call people out. You know what I mean? You got to hold people accountable. You're playing at a Pro Bowl, All-Pro, Defensive Player of the Year level. You got to call people out. You got to hold people accountable. And it's like not one of those things where it's malicious. You know what I mean? You might have to tell, yo, bro, we're going to need you to step your game up. Pick it up. People dropping the passes in practice. Yo, catch the ball. Catch the ball. You hear me say that all the time, people dropping passes in practice. We're 1-5. We need those, bro. Catch the ball. And then, you know, maybe in the locker room, I go chop it up with them or something like that. Because at the end of the day, you're not trying to break anybody down and put them in the tank or make them feel like they're inadequate. But we do need you. We're 1-5, and we do need you. So, you know, those are the things I would do. And then for me, the name on the back of my jersey, I knew the assignment every week. I knew the assignment. You know, I'm going to go out there and play my game because at the end of the day, it was about me being a bright spot in a dark situation. So if I can go out there and lead the NFL in tackles and have 3 interceptions a year and we're still losing games, at least, you know, people can leave the stadium feeling like they saw something. And then, you know, as a leader, it's on me to bring some guys with me. So that's why you see, you know, Cody Barton was making plays last week. You got Jones and Ward. Like now you're hearing different names that are coming along making plays because Jeffery Simmons is rising their level and his expectation of what they should be doing. So I do like where Jeff is. He just has to bring some other people. And then what the organization has to do is bring in a Kevin Mawai type, Chris Hope, David Thornton, draft some guys, you know. So that's what happened when I was in the dark. And those men helped me come back to the light because I stayed dark. You know, we needed David Thornton to help a young Stephen Tulloch. We needed Chris Hope to help a young Michael Griffin and those guys because I wasn't at the point where I want to nurture and nature first and second, third year guys. I was at the point of my career where I'm year 6, 7, 8. Where I'm trying to win now.
You're like, old and tired.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm trying to win. So Big Jeff, you see how look. Big Jeff is at that point now. Like he's been here. He's been to an AFC Championship game. I had been here. I had been to an AFC Championship game. So I knew what bad football looked like, and we were playing bad football. And if no one else was there to step up, I had to step up and speak.
There are a tremendous amount of similarities between your experience and Jeffery Simmons' experience right now.
I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's just as we talk more and more, you guys are really in similar spots. What advice do you have for a guy like Jeff?
Just keep doing what he's doing. You know, hold people accountable. But the hardest part is, like, it would have been hard for him to do it last year, right? Because, you know, people could talk about things in his game or however you want to, you know, he could have done it last year. But now that he's playing at the level that he's playing at and been playing at it, you know what I mean? But now it's like above and beyond. You got everybody in the league talking about it. So if this thing is going to turn around, it's going to start with him. And Jeff Fisher told me that. He said if, you know, this thing, you have the capability to take this thing up or bring it down. So why am I going to sabotage the ship? So let's get right. And then I had players in the building, former players. Marcus Robertson was in the building. He was like, you're playing too good to let this BS happen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who's in the building now, but I would definitely have that talk with Jeff. I would have that Marcus Robertson talk because nothing he's doing on the field is wrong, and hopefully everything he's doing in the building is correct as well.
Well, Jeffery Simmons couldn't do it last year, and I'll tell you why. Because he went through the body transformation that he did in the offseason to do what he's doing. Because he was starting to have injuries, soft tissue things. He started having things pop up,
Right.
and he had to rethink about, okay, if I'm going to do this, which I love to do,
At
and
a high
I'm going
level.
and do it for a long time, then I've got to reassess himself. And he comes in here, and he looks like a different dude, and he is playing like he took care of himself. So that's part of it. And you're 100% right with the guys that are playing in the washout of what he does up front. That is why you're seeing Sebastian Joseph Day work very well. And all these guys are good.
They're all good players, yeah.
Yeah, but Draymond Jones and Jihad Ward, as you mentioned, and you can go through the 3 levels of this defense. Cedric Gray's got 40 tackles in his last 3 games, Bully.
Yep.
Yeah.
40 tackles. And then I think about the rotation of the safeties back there. Amani Hooker, Xavier Woods, and Quandre Diggs have done some nice work on the back end of that. And L'Jarius Sneed, he had double-digit tackles last Sunday. So his effect is there. They just, like you said, everyone needs to come with him and take those steps forward together.
Well, yeah, and you just naming all of that. The defense is definitely stepping up. You mentioned L'Jarius Sneed. Like, he was a guy coming into the season. I'm like, where you at? And, I got to tip my hat to him. He's showing up, and it's hard to be an all-pro, Pro Bowl player and, when you're on the field a lot. The defense is on the field a lot. But what I love about the defense, man, and like I tell you, I watch from my house. We're always in the game in the
Not
third
this week.
quarter.
Yeah.
Nah, this week I'll be there. My guy, Bo Scafe's in town. But, they're always in the game. The Titans have always been in the game in the third quarter, but the offense hasn't been able to muster. So we're talking about the defense specifically. That's all you want to be able to do as a defense. Hold. It's like the cavalry's coming. Unfortunately, the cavalry hasn't showed up yet, so let's hope that this week is different.
But keep giving, forcing things, and say, hey, we got the ball back for you. Go get something, man.
Because at the end of the day, rebuilding, right? So if you're rebuilding and your defensive philosophy is built and your defense is built and you have the pillars to your defense and your special teams is getting better, and then the attitude is starting to change, because every day they go into those meetings on Monday, the head coach is like, guys, these are the plays that we missed on that we could have won on. And I promise you, it's probably, if it's a blowout, it's probably 6 plays. If it's a close game, it's probably 2 or 3 plays that you could have done differently. Probably more, but for the most part, 3 major plays within that game could have changed the outcome in a 1 or 2 score game.
You mentioned Jeffery Simmons, and obviously we've been talking about him, but his numbers this year, so far to this point this season, he leads the NFL defensive tackles in sacks, tackles for loss, and quarterback hits. He's got 4.5 sacks already this year. He's got 8 tackles for loss already this season. He's got 11 quarterback hits. He's second in quarterback pressures. He's third in run stops. Like, the guy is putting up remarkable numbers, not just for the Tennessee Titans, but for the National Football League. He's playing incredible football. And that, to your point, backs up everything that he's saying. So, yes, we hear him on the field. Yeah, we hear the things that he's doing. Yeah, he's stopping practice because he isn't like the standard. But he's also backing it up with the way that he's producing week after week.
That's called talking the talk and walking the walk. And then now he's at that level where he's bringing people with him. You got to bring people with you. And then even on the offensive side of the ball, you might have to go over there and get in some guys here. The guys that you need, you got to bring them. You got to bring them with you, especially if the media is in your face every day asking you all the tough questions and you're standing there in the smoke answering, So you got to bring some guys with you that are going to step up and make some plays and get a name for yourself. You know what I mean? I remember Randy Starks, Antoine Odom, they used to talk about my earrings. I need to get earrings like you. All right, well, if that's motivating you, let's make some plays on Sunday. That's how you get earrings like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's get it. It's whatever motivates you.
Whatever works.
Do what it takes. That's right.
You want to wear mine real quick now?
Let's talk about the media for a second, because Cam Ward has been very outspoken in the media, both positively and negatively. He's had a lot to say, and he's been very honest. Is that something you like out of a quarterback, especially a young quarterback?
Look, be yourself. I would tell any professional athlete to be yourself. You only get one opportunity to be a professional athlete, and the first word is pro. So you're a professional. So as long as you're carrying yourself as a pro, that's fine. And we all know that Cam wants to be a pro. He aims to be a pro. So anything that he says, he's being himself. I don't think that he says things for shock value or anything. It's 2025, man. These kids that grew up with TikTok and all this different stuff. You know what I mean? So
I feel a back in my day brewing.
Yes.
Not at all.
It's just bubbling under the surface.
But the point is, in this day, they're socially active, socially savvy. Look, he's been getting interviewed since he was 14 years old. Us athletes, once you make it to the NFL, you've been getting interviewed since you were in high school. So I don't think he's doing anything for shock value. I think that he's on cue. Who else is answering the tough questions in the offensive locker room? I don't hear much from Ridley or Pollard, or, we don't have the magnifying offensive lineman like Taylor Lewan that steps up and speaks to the media. So, he'll learn. I think Coach Callahan made it clear that he's young in it. He's going to learn. He's going to get a lot of opportunities, and sometimes you're going to get some hot mics and some takes that might not be favorable, but hey, it happens.
Well, speaking of hot mics, we're not going to have any on this show, fingers crossed, but we still have a ways to go. So we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, more to talk about right here on Pinnacle Financial Partners, Titans Tonight. Welcome back to Pinnacle Financial Partners, Titans Tonight. I'm Amie Wells, Keith Bulluck, Rhett Bryan. Gang's all here. The Titans are getting ready to take on the New England Patriots at Nissan Stadium. It's going to feel good to be back. Rhett, are you tired of getting on airplanes?
I am. I'd be lying. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. We were talking about this. It's not like we had back-to-back road trips when we went to Houston or Indy and Jacksonville. We went to Arizona and we went to Vegas.
Straight West Coasting.
Yeah, so that gets a little long in the tooth. But yeah, I'm super glad to be back at Nissan Stadium, and it's been a month since we've been at home. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that, and knowing that 5 out of the next 6 are at home. Because when we come back from Indy in a couple of weeks, we won't have another road trip till we'll take off Saturday, December the 6th.
Christmas
So think about that. The whole month of November, we are at home, and then there's a bye week wedged in there too.
It's magnificent.
It is a beautiful thing.
5 in a row?
Well, 4 in a row, but there's a bye week in there, so 5 weeks don't go anywhere. We leave the equipment set up in Titans Radio booth number 7, and it is a beautiful thing. We don't have to touch anything.
For a whole month. It's going to be great. And really, that trip to Indy, it's like 40 minutes in the air. It's very easy. It's
very
like walking
doable.
there.
I don't want to do that, but yeah.
It's not too bad. Well, we are going to be at Nissan Stadium. Kickoff for that game is at noon if you want to come check it out. We will be there, and it should be a lovely day as long as it's not raining. So
don't do that. Why do you have to say
Well,
rain?
there's a chance of storms.
Well, because there's
in
a
the
chance
overnight,
of rain. That's
in the
why
overnight
I said
hours.
it.
I think it's going to kind of blow through here by the time we get to kick off. So
that's what we're hoping for.
Should be good.
Fingers crossed, everybody. We'll have Davis Nolan hot on the case.
That's right.
But the New England Patriots, a team we haven't seen in a minute. But there's a lot to talk about. They have new leadership in a familiar face, Mike Vrabel.
Yep.
He has got this team rolling. They are 4-1 right now. Is that right? 4-2.
Yep.
They are 4-2 right now. Rhett, tell me a little bit about their offense and what they've got going on that's made them so successful with quarterback Drake May.
So here's the thing. With Buffalo's loss in Atlanta the other night on Monday Night Football, they're 4-2 and in sole possession of the AFC East Division lead.
Wow.
They have not led the AFC East Division since December of 2019, before the end of the dynasty.
Jeez.
It's been a minute.
It has been a minute.
Then Buffalo Bills, right?
Yep.
So you're right. Drake May is at the center of this. Over 1,500 yards passing, 73% completion percentage, 10 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. He has been sacked 18 times, so they got a young offensive line that they're working on trying to keep him protected. But the offense is working very well. Number 11th in the league in scoring at 25 points per game. But the offense is moving the change. 6th in passing yards per game at just over 244 per game. Number 2 in the NFL in passing yards per play.
Wow.
Over 8 yards per play passing.
Almost Diggs.
A new – right. And we're going to get to the weapon, the arsenal of weaponry he has. Stephon Diggs is one of those. They really have what is – shaping up to be a two-headed monster in the backfield. So they've had Ramondre Stevenson for many years. Now, Ramondre, the thing about him is he has the occasional fumble problems. He had a lot of it last year. But so they draft Travion Henderson from Ohio State, and those two guys have worked really well together because both of them can run it on the ground. Both of them can catch it out of the backfield. Both of those guys have multiple runs of 10 yards plus or longer. Both of those guys have 226 yards after contact in Josh McDaniels' offense there. You mentioned Stephon Diggs. Now, what's weird about him is he's become really kind of the chain mover, possession receiver in this, for lack of a better term, because he didn't have a touchdown yet. But he's averaging 12.1 yards per catch. Kayshon Boutte is the one that has started to elevate play. 16.7 yards per play. Last week against the New Orleans Saints, he caught all 5 targets for 93 yards and 2 scores. And then Hunter Henry, the tight end, is a big, big part of that. But they can score and score pretty regularly. I mean, if you're scoring 25 points a game average, you're doing something right. But the genesis of it is the quarterback, the second-year man, Drake May, who, when he's upright, is making it happen. He's playing really good football.
Yeah, I've been able to watch some of New England's games, and his team is making plays for him. You know, Drake May is, like you say, playing really good football. But at the same time, he, as a quarterback, he is putting his players in position to make plays when he passes the ball, and they're coming up with the plays. Like, they're making great catches and, you know, just playing great complementary football offensively, especially when Rhett just names all those weapons and all that productivity that he can choose from. So Titans defense is going to be a great challenge.
Why did I think Drake May was little? I'm looking at this. He's 6'4", 225. Why did I think he was a little guy?
I don't know. He's prototypical size.
Yeah.
And here's the other part about him. He's got wheels, too. I didn't even mention this. I think he has 43 yards after contact, and he has a couple of 3 runs of 10-plus yards or longer. So he is an option in that. He can move it now.
Wow. There's a lot for this Titans defense staff to watch and to have to deal with, and it all goes through Drake May, which is interesting. Let's talk about the defensive side. What do they have working so well right now, Rhett?
Well, this is Coach T, Terrell Williams, 3-4 defense, and I hope he's doing well. He has been dealing with health issues. I believe he has cancer.
Yeah.
And so I hope Coach T is doing good. It starts with what they're doing up front. They're number 4 against the run, only allowing 83.5 yards per game against their opponents in there. Stout, very stout. And here's the thing. They had the most money in free agency to spend in 2025, and they went and they got a guy that was one of the single-handed reasons as to why the Philadelphia Eagles got over on the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and that is with their interior defensive lineman, Milton Williams. Yep. He is playing very well, and he is a problem up front.
Need an anchor.
13 quarterback sacks as a team, 4.5 of those from a familiar face, Harold Landry. Opposite him, at the other outside backer spot, is a guy that has been trying to find his footing in this league for a while now, Kayvon Chason. He has 2 quarterback sacks, big, long player from LSU. Christian Barmore is the other guy up front with Milton Williams. Their secondary is pretty decent. Carlton Davis does a nice job. Christian Gonzalez, their former top pick, has had health concerns and health issues trying to stay available in this. When he's in there, he makes that stuff better. Their safeties do nice work, but there's a guy in the secondary that is their nickel cornerback, who is an undersized corner that is a problem there because of his closing speed to the players who have the ball, but he's a problem on special teams. Marcus Jones was a third-round pick of theirs a couple of years ago, and 5'8", 185, didn't run or do anything at the combine because he had shoulder surgery. Both shoulders were worked on, but he runs in the 4.3s. He's legit track speed. In college, he spent his first 2 years of football at Troy, tied the NCAA all-time record with 9 kickoff returns for touchdowns in 2 seasons at Troy, and then transfer portal, went to Houston, played for the Houston Cougars, returned 4 kickoffs for touchdowns there and 5 intercepted balls. Already this year, he leads the NFL with 23.1 yards per punt return in the National Football League. He's got an 87-yarder he took to the house against the Panthers in Week 4. Antonio Gibson is their other returner, kickoff returner. He tore his ACL a couple weeks ago. So enter a guy you're going to hear his name and special teams in this, who's an undrafted guy from Eastern Washington, and his name is Efton Chisholm III.
That is a name.
Efton inactive his first 5 games. Then Antonio Gibson gets hurt. He gets his first shot in New Orleans on special teams. He averages 28 yards per kick return and 5 returns. Wow. So they got some weaponry there. That's something that I guarantee you John Bones Fossil is having his phase of this Titans squad taking a close look at. But that's kind of a snapshot of what you're looking at there. I mean, look, it's a Mike Vrabel team, so you know they're going to run the ball well. They're going to stuff the run on defense, and they're going to try to be advantageous in all 3 phases. When you start looking at what they do, you can understand why they are 4-2. They've beaten the Buffalo Bills head-to-head. And that number 4 against the run is the big one, because Titans right now are trying to make that stuff happen with Tony Pollard and obviously with Tajay Spears. Titans, conversely, on defense, 21st against the run, allowing 4.48 yards per carry. So they've got to watch out for those 2 backs in Travion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, the Titans' run game right now, they're averaging about 81.8 rushing yards per game.
Which is about what the Patriots have been allowing, 83.5.
Yep. So that would be the second fewest in the NFL. This would be a great opportunity to really flip the script on that, get some more of those rushing yards, and make a big impact that way. But with this team, we are familiar with this staff. We're familiar with kind of the MO and the big motivating factor, and it's just a tough physical football team. The Titans are in for a real dogfight this week.
Well, here's the other thing that people have probably, Titans fans remember this guy's name, and he took him with him to New England, and that's John Stryker, Stretch. He's got Stretch, who will have all of this scouted out and looked over, and that's his secret weapon in this. And listen, what Mike McCoy, the new interim head coach, said about they need to play together and play complementary football in all 3 phases and do it for 60 minutes. That's what it's going to take, because that's exactly what Mike Vrabel's Patriots are doing right now and why they're 4-2.
Absolutely. Bullock, when you look at this and knowing where the Titans are and what they've experienced this week and what they're going up against, what is a key or 2 to getting a win in this matchup?
I think with Mike McCoy hit it on the head. Go into it together. I remember when, the first year Steve McNair was playing for the Baltimore Ravens and he came in here. I don't think that we won that game, but we played it tight. The Baltimore Ravens went 13-3 that year. I think we went 4-11, but look, they didn't come in here and just walk over us. I remember I tried to put Mac through the goalposts.
Oh,
it was
no.
Yeah, man. We had him backed up, and, Schwartzy called the blitz, and we almost got to him. I seen a picture of it somewhere. That's how I know. But I remember, it was interesting.
And you'd never been able to do that before.
Right.
So here we go.
I think it's one of those things. Big Jeff, Amani Hooker, guys that have been here when Vrabel was here, they can kind of give the younger guys or the guys that weren't here and have nothing, that know nothing about it, can kind of get them in a mindset. And then, look, man, if Big Jeff is leading the brigade, football players tend to go to dark spaces before the game starts. So I don't care to know
you
where.
Stayed in the dark, right?
Yeah, I don't know where. He needs to bring some more guys into the dark with him, so they can see the light.
And see, that's the thing is, that's why I said with all those numbers that I talked about with Drake May, he's still been sacked 18 times. Yeah. So there's something there, and Grande Jefe can make that happen.
It's like that movie 300 where I don't know if you've seen
King
it.
Leonidas.
They say they send the young kids, the young men into the forest for on their own. And they have to make their way back home. So it's really like they send them to see if they are going to be one of the future Spartans. And if they make it back home, then, the moms are always like, no, don't leave. But then those guys make it back. So that's their birthright, so to speak. I always found that interesting. But not every player is asked to do those things. not every player can do those things, but the Titans are fortunate that they got some dogs on the roster. They just got to bring some more pups with them.
We've got to take one more quick break. Then we're coming back to wrap everything up on Titans tonight. I will not be watching the movie 300 anytime soon. We'll be back right after this. Final segment of Pinnacle Financial Partners Titans tonight. And Rhett, I want to start with you, and I want to talk matchups. You know we love a good matchup here on this show. What is a matchup? And KB, I'm coming to you next, so you just start thinking over there. What's a matchup that you're looking forward to this Sunday?
I want to see the Titans tight ends against this defense because I feel like if they could get the run game moving, Gunnar Helm and Chigakonkwo can help move this thing. I mean, David Martin Robinson had his first touchdown of his career last Sunday. I want to see the Titans tight ends against this 3-4 defense.
That's a good one.
Honestly, based off our last segment, I really want to see the I'm looking forward to the game. You know, with Mike McCoy, I think I heard him on the radio a little bit earlier, and he was talking about like how his role. PK asked him how his role has increased, and he was like, yo, now I'm everywhere. I guess before he was just more of an offensive coach there to help, but now he's like, now I'm everywhere. He's like, he likes to get to know the players. He likes to see what everyone else is doing at the other positions. He's still learning, and I like to hear that. You know, any coach that admits and knows that they're open to still learn, that shows that they're not narrow-minded. Not that I think anybody else was, but it's refreshing to hear. So I'm just, I'm just interested to see how the Titans show up on Sunday because it's the storyline is big, bad Vrabel and the New England Patriots coming back to town. So you got to defend the fort.
Yep.
You're going to come let them, knock
In other words, you want to see the operational part of this with all three phases.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Being a former player, I can't help but to believe in the men in that locker room because I say that not that I'm going to run and put a bet in Vegas, but I say that I know nobody tries to lose. They know what the assignment is, and there's pride. There's a sense of pride, and there's a sense of want to. And you hear them speak about it, the guys that speak. Every time they speak, they always say, we just want to win. And there's only one way to win, and that's to put in work. So, I would like to think that this was it's hard to say a positive, though, because I definitely feel there were guys in that locker room that really liked Brian Callahan. You know what I mean?
There's not a person in this building didn't like
Brian.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So
right.
I can't see this as being a positive, and I wouldn't even co-sign that. But maybe it's like a rallying cry for those guys, in the locker room to be like, wasn't the coach. Maybe it was, I don't know.
It feels like adversity that can bring a team together and they can walk through it. And you see teams hit this fork in the road and we go one or two ways here. We're going to walk through it and this is going to get better, or we're going to crumble in the face of adversity.
Well, I feel that either way you will find out what type of players are on this team, because like you just said, that fire is coming. We got to walk through it together regardless, fellas. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? So
here's the other part, too, and I hate this for Femi Oladejo. He was put on injured reserve. He'll miss at least 4 games. But I was thinking about the run defense for the Titans. I said it was 21st, allowing 4.48 yards per carry. The good news is that T'Vondre Sweat has been in the return to practice protocol and opening up the 21-day window for him. I'm not saying he's playing on Sunday, but that can't be anything but a good thing to have somebody else to come with Jeff and Sebastian Joseph Day and all those guys that we've been mentioning this hour.
Well, I'll tell you what, when T'Vondre Sweat gets back, offensive lines and offensive coordinators are going to have to make a big decision how they're going to block that interior up.
Because you can't take it all to Jeff.
Yeah, you take it all to Jeff. Big Sweat's going to do his thing, and then what's going to happen, that gives the people on the outside opportunities, more rush opportunities, more one-on-one opportunities. And, look, as a defensive coordinator, you're trying to create one-on-one matchups for your guys. You know, somebody's going to get chipped, somebody's going to get double-teamed, and you got to expect your guys to win one-on-one matchups, and that's what you're trying to create for those guys up front when blitzes aren't called.
The Titans take on the New England Patriots this Sunday at Nissan Stadium. Kickoff is at noon. Titans radio is on the air at 11 a.m. Central Time.
Yeah.
I said the word weird.
It's okay.
At 11 a.m. Central Time, Titans Countdown is going to have everything you need to get ready for that matchup with the New England Patriots. So, for Rhett Bryan, for Keith Bulluck, I'm Amie Wells, and this has been Pinnacle Financial Partners, Titans Tonight.